Yeah. The montages fusing in and out of the main video are just for educational purpose, yet based on real life events that portrays some of the side effects or dangers of doing drugs.
A flower will need a synthesis of compound with the aid of radiant energy to flourish. That's what we call photosynthesis. And so is man. Man will only glow and be radiant in life if he has connectivity with divinity. The name here is Noah King. Good to come your way, to come in your tavern, in your sports, your pub, and also your living room with chosen success story. I have with me in the house a young man by the name Jeff. Today, stay tuned and do the listening.
Chosen Rehab Center, we don't joke when it comes to security. We make sure the rehabilitants are totally secured. Just bring your drug addicted relative and watch us work on his transformation with the power of God while you stay at home and rest in peace.
Good to have you, buddy. I'm sure.
Good to be here.
Yeah, the name is Jeff. Yeah, tell me your full name.
Jeffrey Opombwateng.
Age, how old are you?
I'm currently 32 years old.
32. Siblings?
None.
Tell me a bit about your mom and your dad.
My dad, I didn't really know my dad much because he never got married to my mom. So, plus he passed away when I was 17. But from what I recall, when I was a teenager, he used to come for me, spend vacations with him. He worked for the Ministry of Mines and Forestry in Sunyani. He was more of a traveler, never in one place sort of dude. We'll be in China today, somewhere else tomorrow, you know. My mom, however, she is the main pillar in my life. She's a neurosurgeon in the U.S. at Throgs Neck. What can I say?
Okay, growing up, tell me your background, educational background, where you started crèche, primary, secondary, and even to the tertiary. Tell us a bit about it.
Kindergarten and crèche, I think that was the school that's around Barnyard, around Aoshi. It was called Rainbow International. I don't know if it's still around, but primary, that was St. Martin de Porres in Dancerman. High school, I attended Accra Academy. I was there till my second year. Then I got expelled, and I guess moms had to work something out for me to complete my secondary education at Datus in Community 7 in Tema.
Expelled? How do you mean?
Well, you know how they have these sporting events? And
Inter-colleges?
yeah, exactly. So, during one of these sporting events in my second year, this St. Thomas Aquinas boy got run over by a car. And we were accused, well, 20 of us actually, me included, were accused of being the cause of the accident. They said we exhibited menacing behaviors or attitudes that frightened the boy and made him run away from us. And that was how come he got run over by a car.
Was it just a mere allegation, or you exhibit the traits and characteristics, and therefore you ought to be called a vandal or some sorts?
Well, back then we were all teenagers, and you know how teenagers are, especially under the influence of drugs and alcohol. I mean, there's no telling. But on that particular day, I don't even recall seeing that actual student. We were just leaving the venue. He happened to be coming in the opposite direction. And from what I was told, he saw us turn around and then ran. Before we got to the intersection, the accident had already occurred. It wasn't like we were chasing him or how they try to put it.
All this while you used to experiment cannabis, right?
Yeah.
What were your reason for experimenting weed?
You know, I was kind of lonely when I was younger. Never really had any friends. So I used to hang around with the older guys. To this day, I don't have a lot of friends that are my age. Most of my friends are older, way older. Probably even older than you.
So you want to say, by virtue of the vacuum of being a loner, you felt that no, I need to befriend I need to befriend weed to be a companion. Is that how you saw it?
I saw it as in order for you to be accepted by the older guys who already by then were smoking weed, you had to be down. And then, like, you had to do something for them to know, oh, okay, he's down with us. Because if you're not smoking with them, then what are you doing with them?
You want to be numbered among the big shots in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a G. Yeah. Okay. Tell me, how was it like your first experimentation to cannabis? How was it feeling like? Did it feel good?
Not really. It was weird. I felt like a tingling sensation going up and down my spine. And I kept moving my head in the shape of a box because we were by then in a school building around Kwashiman, where the government school is at, like, you know, in the park. So I kept moving my head in the shape of a block.
At what age did you start this?
I was 12 then.
And you felt good about it?
The first time, not quite. It was weird. But I guess continuous use, and I got used to it. Like, I felt like I had shades on. I wasn't shy. And mind you, I was shy when I was younger. I felt like I wasn't shy anymore. You know, I would move with the rebellious and boisterous guys.
Were you ever told that users of cannabis sativa are brilliant and therefore you can up your IQ if you smoke weed? Have you ever heard that sentiment?
Oh, I wasn't told about upping your IQ, but the guys that I started smoking with, they were into music. So they were like, oh, it will make you, like, for lack of a better word, I'd say better at music. You know, smart.
Did you see the evidence in your life?
No. From what I can recall, it made me dumb. Because it slows you down, makes you real slow. And then growing up, I realized, or I learned, that it actually kills your brain cells.
Yeah. So tell me, at what point in your life did you transition from the smoking of weed to the snorting of heroin and the fixing of crack?
I'm currently 32, so I'd say when I was 28.
28?
Yeah,
By what time did
this
you
is
have
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah. Okay. And how was the experience like?
I mean, the first time I don't really recall because I tried heroin based off a friend's recommendation. We used it for sexual gratification, really. I used to drink then, just drink and smoke cigarettes and a little bit of weed.
By sexual gratification, you mean you were told that when you smoke crack, you'll be a good performer in bed, right?
Yeah.
And so was it.
I mean, it was true.
It was true.
Yeah.
But in the passage of time, diminishing return can set in, and then you wouldn't even have erection.
Yes. It comes with ED after continuous use.
Exactly.
You won't even feel like having sex. And when you do have a woman in your company and you want an erection, you can't even get an erection.
So that's the paradoxical nature about the use of crack. So tell me, Jeff, it has been quite an experience for you. Were you the religious?
Yeah, I grew up in a very religious background. Currently my mom is a deacon. My grandma attended Methodist. Growing up, there was a church around my area in question where my grandmother's house is situated. What they call it, I think it's called Calvary Baptist or something.
Yeah.
And that was a church where my mom would let us go every Sunday. No ifs or buts. Everybody was going. She would iron our Sundays best and take us all to that church. We go to children's service, and afterwards, they buy us all yogurt. I remember that. That was like an incentive.
But you never lived the word.
We never really understood what we were doing. We just felt like, oh, yo, we going to church. After church, we getting ice cream. You know, we were young.
Would you tell me that perhaps as the disintegration of the family, the chain of command, Mama left for the US and you were alone here, that contributed to your character difference?
Man, for a single mother, I feel like my mom did the best she could. It all fell on me. Because after I started smoking at 12, I became very rebellious. Extremely rebellious.
Was your father a smoker?
Yes, my dad was a smoker. He smoked marijuana and a lot of cigarettes. And he was a heavy drinker.
Did you learn from your dad?
I didn't learn from my dad because at the time when I started smoking, I didn't know he smoked. It was after my grandma found out that I was smoking and hanging around with the smokers that she called my dad to come talk to me. And he didn't really have nothing, like, much to say because he was a smoker himself.
I trust that this could be genetic, don't you think so?
Possible. Except the narcotics part, because I never seen my dad smoke narcotics. I know he smokes weed, like, he smoked weed. I know that for a fact. I even found his stash hidden behind his closet and everything.
You're married with kids, right?
Currently, yeah.
So at the time of meeting your wife and whilst you were dating her, were you using crack?
No. When I met her, I was 17. Yeah, 17. We dated for 2 years. She got pregnant in our second year. I got her pregnant mostly because I had to leave the country and I felt like I was gonna lose her some way, somehow. So we decided to have a love child, which is my first biological daughter, whom I named after my mom, Rose.
So at what point in time did you transition into the snorting of heroin and the fixing of crack?
This was 4 years ago.
And what caused it?
After my 11-year stay in the U.S., I got introduced to heroin by a friend who was, at the time, also stationed in Germany for 7 years, but had now relocated to Ghana. I guess he learned it in Germany. So one day we hanging around and he brings something out that was in a vial, white substance. I'm like, yo, what is that? He's like, oh, this Thai. I'm like, Thai? Like, what the hell is that? Because in the U.S., we don't call it Thai. We call it H, or we call it boy. Like, it's got so many names.
Oh, the freebase is crack, sorry, forgive me.
Yeah. Call it H, we call it boy.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, okay, so what is this? Like, what does it do? It's like, oh, just a few bumps. And you could sleep with any woman for hours.
So it means you try the heroin before you got to know of the crack.
Exactly.
Okay.
Funny thing is, when I was in the U.S., I ended up selling cocaine, like powder.
Yeah.
Never tried it though. But I did experiment with some pills. I can say that now. Like Xanax and Xanax, Oxycontin, and what was it? Percocets. This pain medication.
What triggered that?
I mean, mostly hanging out with friends. It's like once somebody recommends it to me, and then I'm like, yo, I was always a curious type, always inquisitive, trying to find out, okay, what does this do? And always trying to be down. I feel like that's how I started with all of that. But then back then, I was only smoking cigarettes, smoking weed,
Yeah.
and then we'll pop a pill and then smoke more weed to enhance it.
So at what point in time did you become a stout addict?
I'd
Well, you
say,
become nuisance to everybody, including your wife and kids.
I'd say 3 years ago. After a year of sniffing or snorting the heroin, I started developing medical issues. Like I developed gastritis, which is a form of ulcer. It's like I would snort the heroin, and then I was told that once the drip comes, meaning that once the heroin tries to descend through your nostrils into your mouth, you gotta spit it out. They never really told me why. They was like, oh, because it's not good. Like, this is all in Ghana. So, for the most part, I would try to spit it out as much as I can. But once I fell asleep, it would drip down my throat and enter my stomach.
So, um, all this while, your wife knew or she didn't? She wasn't aware.
In the beginning, she didn't. But it's like you can't always sleep with a woman for 2 hours and then half the time not even climax. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
you can make her have multiple orgasms, but then you can't come, not even once.
Yeah. So she felt good anytime that you were on hits, right?
Obviously. But after a while, she started to suspect, like, yo, something was up.
Yeah.
First, she thought it was just my reaction to weed,
Yeah.
and smoking Ghanaian weed. Like, she thought, oh, okay, that's probably his reaction. But it's like, it got to a point where I felt like I should confide in her. But then again, nobody really wants to do that, especially in Ghana, and the stigma
Stigma, yeah.
behind narcotics, People look down on you. People don't want to be around you. You end up losing people who actually love you. It's because they're going to be like, oh, where do your boy do? It's like
So your parents were in
horrible.
the States, and your mom was in the States, and who were you put up with in Ghana here?
Oh, I was living with my grandma.
Your grandma. When you came down from, or when you were, when you left, you was down to Ghana, right? You were staying with your grandma.
Yeah, my mom left. She left with my grandma.
Yeah.
And my grandma was the businesswoman type. She was busy, always busy, building houses for her kids, whom she has like struggled to send to the U.S. And mind you, she has 6 kids. My mom is the 5th.
In your perspective, what did you expect or you think mommy should have done that she didn't, and that added up to your addictive stance?
Well, I feel like my mom did everything right. It was just me. And I'm more of a thinker. I tend to overthink. And that in turn gets me emotional sometimes.
Okay, it's not good enough for gardeners to love flowers. They must hate weed as well. I think we'll surface back again some other time and talk with Jeff the more. I think Jeff realized that he's gotten to the rock bottom and he came to chosen rehabilitation center and he's experienced a metamorphosis. Welcome back again. My name is Noah and thanks for having me. Thank you.
At Chosen Rehab Center, we don't just cure them, but we keenly focus on their renewal of the mind. Change is possible.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs. Yes to life.